bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. Let's do this, man. For KJCR, the Game Changer, and NX Networks, Race Hobbs, I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Tonight, we welcome very special guest, Dave Schrader. Dave Schrader is with us. We're going to be talking about the rise of the gods on Marvel. Oh, it's going to be a great show tonight. Dave is one of the very best. And tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. That's right. It is Thursday. Tonight, completing another week here of great guests here on Fade to Black. Dave Schrader's with us. And then we get to, personally, besides tonight with Dave Schrader, of course, my favorite night of the week, which is hanging out with all of you and taking live phone calls from all around the world. And that is tomorrow night, Fader night. And I've got a bunch of events that are coming up, and I will be speaking at the X Conference, May 13th and 14th. I'll be speaking on Friday night, and this is an online event, and I want you to visit unxnetwork.com for all of the information and a complete speaker lineup and schedule. And then coming up in June, on June 18th, I'll be hosting Disclosure Fest right here in Los Angeles, California. Downtown at the Los Angeles State Historic Park, right next to Chinatown. Visit disclosurefest.org for all of your tickets and information. And then coming up in October, I'm very excited about this because I'll be in Egypt with Billy Carson. And that's going down this October. Space is very limited. And I want you to visit forbiddenknowledge.com for the complete schedule and information. Also, I'll be in Detroit for the premiere of The Black Knight Satellite, a new feature film directed by Billy Carson, and I'll be in Detroit for that. And I've got another event that we're just finalizing now that's going to happen at the beginning of June, and we're finishing that up right now, and I'll have that info to you probably midweek next week. Links for everything is in the description box below on YouTube. It's on our social media, and everything is over on our website, jimmychurchradio.com. All right, you can follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. Yeah, easy to do, man. Just follow me right there on jchurchradio. And if you want to hang out with the other Fadernauts, hashtag F2B is the sandbox right there on Twitter. I've always got Twitter up in front of me right here to my right here in the studio. Hello to everybody listening and watching all around the world. And there you go. Now, any questions or comments tonight or any other night, you can post it right there in hashtag F2BQ on Twitter. And of course, everybody's chatting away at the various chat rooms and over on YouTube. And I now see the chat from YouTube. And I have also, it's in front of me now. but I've also figured out how to turn it off. Yeah. I love the new technology. What do you guys think, man? What do you guys think? Isn't this pretty amazing? Yeah, see, now I just turned on the chat. There's Genocide. And Bill is there trying to keep the order in the chat room over there. Always a full-time job. All right, so now I wonder if this changes the color of anything, because this is when I just cover everything up right here. See, I'm not watching myself. Who would do that? I don't watch myself. I cover that stuff up. I just yap. That's what I do. I just yap. I miss the old days. Before I get to the breaking news, I miss the old days. For the first 3 years of this show, no video, no cameras, no lights on, because right now there's lights on that are telling me that cameras are on. And for first 2 years of the show, I wore the same shirt 5 days in a row. I didn't care. Didn't shave, brush my teeth, wash my face. I did not clean the studio. Now it's spotless in here. Well, except for my guitar workbench over there. As you look at the clutter here, before I get to the breaking news, so we have two views here. Let me see here. Let's pull up this one. Okay, can you guys? I don't know if you can't see my mouse, and my microphone's covering it up. Okay, so if I lift up the microphone, that right there, that is my guitar bench. That's where I repair my guitars, and that's covered in tools. And then over here, the shelf continues. It's L-shaped, and it's a countertop. And then there's a big toolbox up there with drawers, Craftsman, and that's full of tools. There's power tools. There's everything is right there, and you can't see it, like right in between the white guitar and the tiger stripe guitar. There's little lamps that are sticking out that light up, and that's cluttered. But other than that, this place is spotless, man. Spotless. I just keep it clean now. And I didn't have to worry about this stuff back in the day. Didn't care about my hair. Now I have to. Oh, man. All I want to do is just yap. That's all I want to do. I just want to just talk into the microphone and hang out with you guys. But no, now it's like some kind of TV show. And there you go. It's the world that we live in today. All right. Follow me on Twitter at JChurch Radio. That's what you want to do, at JChurch Radio. Come and hang out with me there. And one of the, what I do in the morning? First thing, cup of coffee, right? Okay, so I get that done. And then I've got to feed the birds and the hummingbirds, and front yard, backyard, and I make sure all of that's done. That's my morning. But then I sit down on the back patio with the hummingbirds and the birds and the lizards and doing my thing. And I go straight to Twitter. I do. I do, man. I don't do anything else. No news, no Facebook, no Instagram. I don't even know what's going on over there. I never check it. I don't do anything. And, but yeah, I go to Twitter. Go to Twitter for my news and to see what's going on with all of youans out there. Let's get to the breaking news. Today, Trevor Reed, a U.S. citizen and former Marine who had been detained in Russia since 2019, has been released in a prisoner swap. The release ends nearly a 3-year ordeal for Reed, who was sentenced to 9 years in prison back in July of 2020 for endangering the life and health of Russian police officers in an altercation. The exchange took place in Turkey earlier today when the American plane pulled up next to the Russian plane, and they walked both prisoners across at the same time, like you see in the movies, and the swap happened. So there you go. And the swap was for another, a Russian pilot who was busted transporting cocaine for the cartels. And he got sentenced to like 10 or 20 years in an American prison. Was serving time here in the United States. So that's what it was. It was a 1-for-1. Robots are back in the headlines. We know robots can fly. We know they can control, crawl, walk like a dog, bark like a dog. And yes, they could even skateboard. But now they know how to jump hundreds of feet into the air. Researchers at the University of California, Santa Barbara, have built a robot that can vault over 100 feet in the air. All of this according to a new study published today in the journal Nature. I watched the videos. I've seen the pictures. It's pretty incredible. The robot, created by the UCSB team, stands about as tall as a bowling pin and weighs about as much as an adult mouse at around 30 grams. And it can jump more than 100 times its own height using springs, rubber bands, and a rotary motor that multiplies the amount of force and energy produced for a single jump. The previous record holder was Boston Dynamics' Sand Flea back in 2012, which could jump up to about 32 feet. This is mechanical. There's no wings. There's no nothing. It's round, and it compresses up to a point and then bounce and springs out, or starts out round. They wind. You have to see it. It's crazy. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Kaz. There it is right there. Go to Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio, and then hashtag F2B, and you can check it out right there. Isn't that nuts? 100 feet in the air. Breaking news out of Egypt today, because Egyptian archaeologists announced that they have unearthed the ruins of a temple for the ancient Greek god Zeus in the Sinai Peninsula. The temple ruins were found at the Tel El Farma archaeological site in northwestern Sinai. Tel El Farma, also known by its ancient name Pelusium, dates back to the late Pharaonic period. Inscriptions found in the area show that the Roman Emperor Hadrian came in and renovated the site. Now, Hadrian was like 100 AD. So there you go. Pretty cool pictures. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Also today, I posted this up in Twitter, and I think I got it over to Facebook too as well. An incredible image of what was just discovered in Gaza. A Palestinian farmer in Gaza uncovered the head of a 4,500-year-old statue of the Canaanite goddess Anat. The head, which was unveiled to the public yesterday, was found in the Sheikh Hamouda in Khan Yunis, according to Gaza's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. The statue will go on display at Pasha's Palace Museum in Gaza in the next few days. And I was thinking to myself, and it's an incredible picture, right? And I'm sure that somebody will get it posted up here in Twitter. Kaz, are you late on the draw? Here, where's my picture? Oh, there it is. Who did this? Oh, this is me. There it is right there. And the world needs to see this, but what's the tourism like in Gaza? Can you be a tourist in Gaza? Who's going to visit the museum? More people need to see this. It's absolutely incredible. Also announced today, the largest blue diamond ever to come to auction has just sold for $57.5 million. And it's not that big. It's only 15 carats. It's only 15 carats. Named the De Beers Cullinan Blue, the massive 15.1 carat gem, sold at Sotheby's in Hong Kong after an 8-minute bidding war. The winning bid, which surpassed the high estimate of $48 million, came from an anonymous buyer by telephone. Who spends $60 million on a little blue rock? All right. Well, I talked about this a couple of days ago, and we got our answer. Who is the world's oldest living person? Well, we found out today. Sister Andre. She's an 118-year-old nun living in a nursing home in southern France, and she has become the world's oldest living person according to the Guinness World Records. Sister Andre is the oldest nun ever and is also the world's oldest COVID-19 survivor. And she drinks a glass of wine and eats chocolate every single day. She says that's her secret for good health. Sister Andre, 118 years old. There you go. Let's get this show cracking. On this day in history, 1521, after traveling 3/4 of the way around the globe, navigator Ferdinand Magellan is killed during a tribal skirmish on the Mactan Island in the Philippines. You go and you do that, right? You map the world. Magellan, you get it all done. And you die in a skirmish on an island in the Pacific. Fader fact. All right. Now, after everything that we've covered on this show, everything that we have covered about the universe, our solar system, the planets, Nibiru, after everything that we have covered, I'm going to give you this. This is your Fader fact. Discovered in 2011 and announced in 2016, Niku, spelled Niku, Niku is a planetoid object that literally orbits the sun in the opposite direction of nearly everything else in the entire solar system. And it's a planetoid. And it's also at 110-degree tilt. That's right. It's not only backwards, but it's also up and down. Niku. Check it out. That is your Fader fact. Since discovering Niku, they've discovered 2 more planetoid opposite orbiting tilt axis objects in our solar system going this way. Not this way. Nope. Backwards and up and down. And that is your Fader fact. Tonight, Dave Schrader is with us. We're going to be talking about the rise of the gods on Marvel. Tomorrow night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. Now I'm going to hit this River Moon coffee because I got something to say. Fade to black blend. Oh, I blend. I do. Rivermoonwellness.com, Fade to Black Blend, best coffee in the world. Go to the links over at jimmychurchradio.com. Go to rivermoonwellness.com. Go to the banners. Click. Go and get the best coffee in the world. It is the best coffee in the world. There's nothing better. There's some as good, all made by Rivermoon Wellness. As good. It's as good. It's not better. No. Fade to Black Blend. What is it about science fiction and modern culture? Now, I guess we could say, we could actually go back to Gilgamesh, right? But it all started in a modern sense with H.G. Wells and other writers way before the movie industry latched onto it. And back then, when writing would just let our imaginations take hold of us and the world around us, right? We started to realize that science fiction was not only fun, and it is, but it showed us what was possible. Today, when books are all but forgotten, along with all of the fantasy magazines from the past, today we have movies. The writers, the directors, and studios all show us not only what is possible, they also give us the science in science fiction. They give us the expanse of the universe, of other worlds, alien civilizations, and of course, them visiting us. Usually to take over the world, our world, planet Earth, we battle them back, with pistols, fire. Tonight, Dave Schrader joins us, and we're going to be talking about the Marvel Universe. And as a listener to this show over the years, you know about my interest in the gods, all of them. Every culture throughout history has their gods. Independently, all on their own, each culture had something that they called a god, or gods, or goddesses. Thousands of years ago, societies that had absolutely no contact with each other, they all did the same thing. Now, we know this today for sure, but all of them doing the same thing isn't what's important. What is important is the question, why? Is it something in our DNA that sparks the need for a God in our lives? That no matter what, your little tribe is going to grow larger. And as it does, there will be a need for a God in your community's future. Is that what DNA is doing? Or is there something more? In that, were there real gods showing themselves back in the day? Think about that for a second. Gods that are still here among us. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get to meet them again, right? Does the education system today, the one that we have in place right now that is teaching our children, do they teach our children about the ancient gods of our world? Well, I can't speak for the rest of the planet, but this stuff doesn't happen here in the States. We don't even teach our kids how to write anymore, let alone cool stuff about the gods of ancient Greece. It just doesn't happen. But we can certainly get it from Marvel Studios. That's right. And right now, Marvel Studios are doing everything they can to get it done. That's right. Science fiction in film is teaching us things. Right now, there is the Moon Knight series on Disney. It's a Marvel production showing us everything there is to know about the gods of Egypt, ancient Egyptian culture, and religion. It's incredible. And it's spot on. I'm not going to give anything away. We'll be talking more about Moon Knight here in a bit, but you've got to check it out. There's some processes that are shown there that are pretty incredible. Not going to teach you that in school. Then there's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, a new release in 2021, starring my man, Simu Liu. That's right, from Kim's Convenience. And he's so great in Kim's Convenience. But he is amazing in Shang-Chi. And here we get a full-on education into ancient Chinese history. And, yeah, I mean, we get the dragons, we get the martial arts, but also what life and family values are to China and ancient Chinese and Asian cultures in general, and magic and the gods. It's all there. It's incredible. In Eternals, also released back in 2021, you get the opening scene in Mesopotamia, 5000 BC. When the Eternals, the immortal alien beings, they arrive here on Earth to get things on the right track, but to protect the Earth against the bad guys. But that's not the point. It's 5000 BC. It's ancient Mesopotamia, the start of everything, right? Check that out. It's incredible how it is presented here and the education that it presents. And then we have the Thor series of films. And, starting with Thor back in 2011, I can't believe it's been 11 years now, followed by Thor, The Dark World, and Thor, Ragnarok. And except for release this year, we get Thor, Love and Thunder, right? Thor love story. Now, I think that Thor, the Marvel version, has taught more people about the Norse gods and their story than anything else in history. Today, everybody on this planet knows about Loki, Odin, and Ragnarok. Right? When I was growing up, you know what Odin was? Odin was a street in Hollywood. I had to go figure it out. It was a band on the Sunset Strip, Odin, that I thought was named after the street. I had to go and do all of this research myself, right? And Ragnarok, an important event in Norse mythology that has been the subject of scholarly discourse and theory in the history of the Germanic studies. But Ragnarok lays it all out. Everything I knew about Ragnarok before, it was none. Everything I know about Ragnarok now, I have learned because of Marvel. Seriously, I went and researched Ragnarok. Remember back in the day when your teacher would roll in the movie projector on that wheeled cart? You remember that? Whip out a roll of film, right? Thread it through, turn out the lights, and that warbly voice would crackle through the little speaker. The octopus is in the ocean. And you would go, that was your education. It was done with film. Well, today, it's the same thing. Except today, it's an app on your smart TV that is teaching our kids. Marvel Studios. You gotta love it. And that's why tonight we're going to do all of this with Dave Schrader. That's right. We're going to do the Rise of the Gods on Marvel. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dave Schrader is with us, and he'll be with us right after the break. And then tomorrow night, it's Thursday. It's open lines all night long. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer and UnX Networks. That's right. This is Fade to Black, and I'll be right back after this short break with our guest, Dave Schrader. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from Rivermoon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all Rivermoon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unxnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the unxnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UNX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time. It's new. It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dave Schrader is with us. We're going to be talking about the rise of the gods on Marvel. And we're going to be covering the gods. We're going to talk about Moon Knight, Egyptian, Shang-Chi, Thor, the Eternals, and much more. Dave is the former host of the long-running paranormal talk radio show, Darkness Radio, and lead investigator on the paranormal-themed travel channel series, The Holzer Files. February 1st, 2022, he launched the Paranormal 60 with Dave Schrader, a different look and feel to the genre that he has been part of for so long. Shorter interviews, cutting to the heart of the story, insights from experts and experiencers, new and entertaining. That's right. That's because he's Dave. Since an early age, he has been surrounded by the strange and the anomalous, from haunting homes to creature sightings, UFO encounters, and more. Dave continues to bring you along on his journey and thanks you for taking him along on yours. Never a casual observer. He pushes claims of the paranormal to the limits by investigating them himself and visiting some of the most active and haunted locations in the world. Dave does not hunt the paranormal. It hunts him. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one and only Dave Schrader. Dave, I just got to say, man, good evening, my man. How you doing?
Good to have you back. But before we get started, I want to talk about my Shade to Black Metamucil mix. Because if you're looking to clean your bowels, some people like their mucil normal. Not me. I like it Metamucil.
Wow. And
I feel like I should be hawking that. Or is this better, Jimmy? If you like your coffee hot and smelling like Egg McMuffins, get the McCafe jug. Now available at Cub. Tell them Dave Schrader sent you.
You know, Dave, this is what's really funny. Is we have worked together side by side for years, a long time. And one of the things that I have admired about you is I've always wanted to have your presence, the way that your frontal lobes are connected to your jaw, and you're able to get that out and into the microphone. There are very few on this planet that do it like Dave Schrader, man, and I've just admired you forever. So just never change, my man.
That explains the pictures of you laying on the bed like this, looking at the big poster of me from the 70s.
Well, you know what? I used that photograph. I blew it up and I printed it. Dave calls me up, Church, man, that picture's like 15 years old. I said, it's also my favorite.
Was it the one against me leaning against the tree, or is it the...
Yeah.
Hey, how much did that guy spend for that blue stone?
$57 million.
I guess my purchase of 12 million isn't so stupid now, is it? In your face.
Yeah.
Look at this.
And
Rose crystal.
Yours is bigger. So, and before we get started, and I'm not joking about this, I can actually show it on the screen if you want me to verify this. This morning, I wake up, I'm drinking my coffee, my phone beeps, and I look down, and there's a message from Scott Walter. Scott doesn't tell me good morning. He doesn't say anything. This is what the message said. Church, be sure to tell my friend Dave Schrader tonight I said hello.
I love that guy.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this not Jimmy, good morning. And by the way, when Dave is on the show tonight, no, that's not what it said. It said church. So there you go. And I would have, it's great that I had two radio and television hosts from the great state of Minnesota on the show. And I would have done an all Minnesota week this week, but I couldn't get Prince on the show. If I could have pulled that off, I would have done an all Minnesota week this week.
Man, you're so close. So close. You know, it's funny. You talk to Scott and me more than we talk to each other, and we live a half an hour apart.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? That's how it goes. Yeah, certainly.
It's weird like that. I love Scott. He's a great guy.
Now,
and he's completely full of nonsense, but he's a great guy.
Completely
this
full.
whole hooked X, come on.
Yeah, you know what though? But it's a good story.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good story. It's a good story. Sitting around the campfire. Who are you gonna? You know what? Those are the two dudes I'm calling. Right? Yep. I'm camping. I get Dave Schrader and I get Scott Walter, and I let you two just go with the remarkable, the fantastical, and let's see who can tell the biggest fish story and get away with it.
I keep driving him nuts because every place I go where there's an X carved into a wall, I just take out my little stone and I start making it a hooked X. So that way he finds it, blows his mind every time.
Take a picture. Scott, I was in a phone booth today. Check this out.
Pick it up.
The Templars were here first.
Right. If you look right here, the F makes an X, and there's the hook right up at the top.
I don't know how he does it, man. And you know what, though? He's got me with that, Dave. I'm looking at that stuff all the time. I was last week, I was doing a bunch of research on Egypt, and I had all these images up, and I'm looking at these temples and the hieroglyphics. I'm looking for hooked X's. I want to see if there's some crazy moment where I go, oh, man, really? But I'm doing that. And now I'm going to actually jump straight into this tonight.
Sure.
Because I want to tell, there's a little story. You're not going to remember this. But years ago, I called you.
Wait, are you calling me senile?
Yeah. You're not going to remember.
You're not going to remember this.
Okay, well, check this out. Tell me if you do. All right. So I call you up, and I was just, it was just a phone call. It's like, Dave, what's going on, man? How you doing? You go, church. I'm on my way to go see Ragnarok. The premieres today with the kids. What do you need? And I'm like, what's Ragnarok? You go, Thor, Ragnarok. I go, oh, yeah, that's right. It's premiering today. Right. Okay. Boom. Click. You hung up. And the excitement in your voice. Now, do you remember that phone call?
I do.
Oh,
I do remember. Yeah. I remember every time I hang up on Jimmy Church. So it's I've got a logbook.
Thor, I bet, and this isn't some crazy sexist statement, but I bet Chris Hemsworth has taught more women in the world Norse mythology than anybody. Right. And I mean, you just bring up Thor and the attention is right there. And you can get this conversation going about Odin and Loki and the gods and Ragnarok and the battle for the gods and who dies and who kills. They know all about it. And they got it from a movie, right? From Marvel. I find that to be just incredible.
Well, I want to backpedal a little bit in the fact that I've known a lot of women that studied in school mythology. So I think a lot of them had a good grasp on a lot of the different mythology, probably more than men did. We were more into Spider-Man and Batman, but I think women really were fascinated and attracted to the fables and legends and lore of the gods.
Exactly. I've noticed the same thing, and I haven't. I need to really be careful when I get in those conversations because, and I hang out. I just had a dinner party right at my house a couple of weeks ago, and I took
My invitation must
and
have gotten
well,
misplaced.
but let me explain. And I said, wait a minute, we've got 8 women here and 4 men. And so, this dynamic, right? The masculine and feminine, it's so great. And to hear the power coming from my friends with their knowledge of ancient history and lost history and the gods, it's crazy. And I need to be very careful. I can't say the wrong thing or I'll get corrected.
That's why I never pretend to be an expert in any of it. I'm interested. I'm fascinated, and I love when people tell me the tales and all of the crazy things that surround the gods. And it does make me wonder how many of these things are based in some form of reality. When you look at how the Norse gods and Greek mythology and even the indigenous peoples' gods and the different kind of hierarchy that everyone looks at, they all are very similar. Right? It's like Marvel and DC and Image Comics, right? There was a version for every universe that existed. So I'm always fascinated by that. My introduction, I grew up in a Lutheran grade school, so I only knew the big God until I started watching Saturday morning TV. And my first introduction to the gods was Shazam! And then the mighty Isis, right? Those, I loved them. The Croft Power Hour. And I used to watch it, you've got the Solomon, Hercules, Apollo, Zeus, Mercury. I just thought that was such a cool concept. And the fact that gods, their powers came together to give humanity a hero. And that's always been really cool to me, that whole concept.
Now, if we go back into deep history, if we go back into let's go to history first, and then we'll go into deep history. But if we go to history first, I can see where the cross pollination occurred. I can see it. I can see how it came out of Egypt and Greece, and then over to Rome, and you can see that. But if we go into deeper history, the common gods between Rome and Greece, and some were shared names, some had different names, the same gods, right? But if we go into deep history, before that cross-pollination was possible, before there was transoceanic cultures, all of the civilizations on this planet, whether it was North or South, Central America, Asia, for instance, the North, Scandinavia, Norway, Europe, and Africa, and Egypt, even India, you have to throw that. They didn't communicate, but they all had gods. Do you think it's something that is part of our DNA, something that we can't avoid, that gods are something that we are going to invent, right? And that's a key word. Or is it something that was based in reality?
Here's the deal. I think, and boy, we got to be careful skating on this type of ice. I think that everything has this kind of germination, like we're seeing these asteroids we're realizing have all the DNA structure on it to create life, right? We're realizing then this planet is not by happenstance. Things have collided, things have happened here. Well, even if you look in the actual Bible, if we're going to go into history, everybody's familiar, whatever religion you are, you're familiar of the story of Jesus. But Horus, the Egyptian story, predates Jesus by like 1,500 years. And it's identical, born to a virgin, died for his sins. And the parallels are astounding. And you look at these things, and then there are different versions of religions that have these humanistic leaders, these connections between the gods and us, right? And that's an important element because we want to feel like we're attached to something. So believing in a god or gods gives us insight, gives us wisdom. I learned this in sales. If I tell you, hey, Jimmy, I got a piece of rose quartz, do you want to buy it? You're like, no, man, I got enough stones. But if I go, hey, Jimmy, I got to tell you something. You know, my grandfather worked with Jacques Cousteau, and together they uncovered the Etosha, the famous wreck of the Etosha. And this was the first thing that Jacques Cousteau brought up from the bottom of the ocean, and he handed it to my grandfather and said, thank you for believing in me. This is the only one of its kind. And I want you to have it. And it's only $5,000. Now, collectors will buy because the story, not the item, not the stone. That guy didn't pay $50 million for a stone. He paid $50 million for the provenance, for the story. And that's what history is. It's these stories, and we want to glom onto something. We want to believe in something, and we want to have scapegoats if things don't go our way. Things are going bad in our life, demons, right? Or Loki, or other trickster, prankster gods. So we have kind of an out, but yet we also want to feel like life has a purpose and that something greater beyond the human scale exists and is there leading us, nudging us along on this ethereal plane.
I was given this stone. I'm going to hold it up. See, check that out. Right.
Nice. Yeah.
And, but this isn't just any stone, Dave. And as a matter of fact, I'll sell it to you. Incredible. So, 60 years ago, there was an expedition on the Nile near Aswan, and they recovered a barge. And on the barge was a bunch of these stones, right? And this came from that barge. And when they pulled it out, you can see this exact stone on Wikipedia. You can go look it up because 60 years ago, pictures were taken of this stone. It had a label on it that said Jimmy Church on it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it was like it was made for you.
It's time travel
from the gods.
I will sell this to you. $20.
That looks a lot like the jettisoned airplane poop that comes down in the blue crystal form and lands in people's yard from time to time. But there's the gods, right? That would have been the sky gods, something that came down. We have to make sense of it. If there's a storm with frogs flying around, it has to be the gods. It can't be a hurricane or a tornado that's just throwing things into the mix.
And you couldn't explain, as the leader of a community, right, big or small, that hasn't been to school, right? You can't explain to them meteorology or something else, that how these things have happened. You've got to, the simplistic way to get all of this understood and have them listen to you is the gods did it. That's all you need to say, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's all you need to say. Don't drink that water over there. Now, you can't tell them it's stagnant. It's got this. It's that. You can't go into that. No, they're still going to try to drink it. But if you say, the gods say, don't drink that water, we got to drink that water over there, then they understand.
Well, that's the culture that you and I love, this high strangeness, right? The whole concept of things like werewolves and vampires and sea creatures, they exist because they were warnings, right? You don't want to go in the woods at night. This is how you keep the children from going and getting hurt. You tell them the story of the Wolfman. You tell them, don't go too close to the water because there is a god of the water that will eat you. And they are vicious, and they're, and you tell these stories, and you build this fear in to children so that they learn the right from wrong. And we're the same way, right? Don't do this, don't do that. And then here's why, by avoiding these things, you can have a longer, healthier life. You tell somebody, eat an apple a day. Every apple you eat is going to extend your life by an hour. People are going to give you 100 reasons why they shouldn't eat the apple, or that they don't like the flavor, even though it could be proven, right? But you give them a story behind it. If they know that there's an importance to it, people will go along with it, right? And that's kind of just the way the world has always worked. People want to feel like they've got somebody with just a little special insight. That's why mediums are so popular. And
well, but see, here's the deal, though, Dave. That's based in reality. At least there is a reason for that, right? It's based in reality. Which, if we go back into the deep history part that I was just referring to,
sure.
How is it possible that all of these cultures with zero contact between them all developed the same thing? So was that also rooted and based in reality? Were gods among them?
Well, could be. When I was talking with Scott Walter, when we had him on an episode of the Holzer Files, we were at America's Stonehenge, Mystery Hill, right? And we were talking about the layouts of these things and how it is crazy that this was built to be almost an exact mirror of something 5,000, 10,000 miles away, that they would have not had any way to telegraph that. And I said to him, and I said, what if there is, okay, we know that these are on ley lines. We know there's energy, right? And I said, you remember going to the Science Museum and there were the whispering walls? Have you ever seen those, Jimmy? Right? You just go and you stand, you're in one corner and I'm in the other, and the way it's curved, I go, hey, Jimmy, can you
Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah.
Right. And it goes the entire length of this hall, just whispering. You can hear each other. And I thought, could this be the same way that people that were working with these stones that have energetic properties to themselves and are tied, could it be that they're not telepathy necessarily, but their minds working with these stones, the stones shared information with them, they shared information with the stones, and it traveled like the 100 monkey theory, right? Once the 100th monkey learns to use this stick as a tool, suddenly monkeys around the world start using the stick as a tool. So we know that there is some kind of global consciousness that does work and factor in. And another great example is all of these stories all over the world that have the same flood stories. That's the one thing in religion, I believe, that is the one thing everybody can agree on. Our earth flooded for a period of time, and every religion believes it. Slightly different takes on why and how it happened, but they do believe it, right? And they're finding proof. And high mountaintops are finding fish fossils, right? So it's just amazing to me that there is this common knowledge. And I think maybe when we didn't have the distractions of technology and we didn't have the distractions of war and well, at least not like we do in the last 500, 600 years, maybe there was a better connection. Maybe people were more tuned in. Maybe it has nothing to do with aliens or gods. It was that people didn't have the distraction of so much else going on in the world, and they actually did have a form of telepathy. When you get thousands of people and slaves that are working and building this temple, and they're all thinking of this, and you've got the people building it and structure, this is a massive undertaking, and there's blood, sweat, and tears being put into it. That is energy. And that may strike somebody who's in another position and be like, we need to build a temple, and it needs to look like this, and it needs to have these parameters, right? And or is it that we are, like Wayne Herschel has a book called The Hidden Records, and it's a big, thick book. Wayne talks about the fact that we are from the Pleiades system. He says, look at this image. He goes, everybody always shows the ruins of the Egypt ruins and the Aztec ruins, how they're very similar. But he actually took it further, and he had transfers or transparencies. And he took it out further on the map, and he goes, look how this overlay goes exactly over the Egyptian ruins. Then the Aztec matches exactly, and the Mayan ruins exactly. And then he goes, you want to see the real thing that's crazy? And then he pulls out the picture of the ruins on Mars, and he lays the transparency over it, and it matches identical. And he's like, look at this. So is there a global consciousness? Are we picking up all of these messages? Maybe we haven't given enough creative license to ourselves as humans. We can't believe that we have these abilities. We've shunned them for so long because organized religions have said, no, you can't do this. It has to come from God. But maybe at one time we were the gods among the earth, right? We were the ones that could create and make and build, and we're just tapped into this unique energy that existed until somebody corrupted it, and somebody started saying, no, it's wrong to feel that way. It's wrong to look at it that way. This had to have come from a god or a set of gods. And I think that there might be more to that, because you see a lot of these native cultures around the world, from the Aborigines to the indigenous tribes here, all over the world, they got it. They knew things. It was like inherent that the world spoke to them. And that's a god, right?
Yeah. Why? It's such a fascinating take. Why is it that now you've got 25 kids? I have 2. But you know what it's like to raise a family through our modern educational system, which is different than when you and I went to school.
Right.
And but why is it that you have to go to shows like this or watch a series from the Marvel universe to learn about lost in ancient history and the gods? I find that fascinating that Marvel and others, right, have taken it upon themselves for this education, and it's pretty accurate the way that they present it.
Well, because, okay, we have to look at one thing. We've also streamlined education. So how does knowing about the gods help you in your everyday life? How does it help you learn math? How does it help you learn this, science? Because then you're weaving in the world of magic, and there's no time for logic in these situations. It is, or I shouldn't say logic, for fantasy and the concept. And people forget magic is just science, right? Until we understand it. The mixing of chemicals was magic. Now we consider that, medicinal, right? Witches, these bad witches, they were the ones everybody went to when their family was dying and somebody was sick and they were dealing with, premature balding or this, that, and the other. These were the people. So they would give them this power when all they were doing was tapping into what already existed. And then when things didn't go your way, it was just as easy to turn and then point a finger and say, Jimmy Church, Jimmy could cure this. He's obviously the one that's also responsible for killing our crops, because we want to also have that scapegoat. We want to have a reason why we don't get where we're going, why we fail, because it's not us. That's what God's purpose is. One of the gods out there.
But are you suggesting that, they don't teach writing in school anymore? They don't. Right?
I know my 19-year-old son doesn't know how to sign his name.
No.
He just writes squiggles because they did not teach cursive to him.
I cannot believe my daughters that are both 27 were not taught how to write in school. And that blew my mind. And it's like, here's an iPad and everything you need to know is here. Right? And you get that in kindergarten and you're off to the races. Let's take our break right here, Dave. Got to get this in.
Sure.
Our guest tonight, the one and only Dave Schrader. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, talking about the rise of the gods on Marvel. We talked a little bit about Thor. We're going to go through everything else when we come back after this short break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Dave Schrader when we come back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can, right now, get your free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hi, Race Hobbs with the X. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you have an interest in unexplained phenomena like ghosts, Bigfoot, and UFOs. And by now, you know that we have our own X blog, the UnX newsletter, and the UnX magazine quarterly. But most of you don't know that we have started our very own paranormal conference. And this year, for safety, this 2-day XCon will be virtual, so you can attend from the comfort of your home. XCon presenters include Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, Margie Kay and Preston Dennett, Lisa Martin and Wayne Lawrence, Lee Spiegel, Debbie Zagelmeyer, Dan Terry, Kate Grabowski, and Ray Hernandez. There will also be a live paranormal investigation by the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal team. So come hang out with us in the safety of home as we set out to explain the unexplained Friday, May 13th and Saturday the 14th, 2022. And tickets are on sale now. Go to unxnetwork.com. That's unxnetwork.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Race Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're also the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dave Schrader is with us, talking about the rise of the gods. How did all this get started? And right now, it seems to me, all about Marvel, the Marvel universe. And getting back to our conversation, Dave, here's the thing. Just when I thought that it was all covered with Marvel, Moon Knight comes out. Now, have you? I know that you have. What do you think of the series so far?
I was never a big Moon Knight fan in the comic book realm. I grew up with Spider-Man, Batman. Those were my primary go-tos. The What If comics, some of the spin-offs I would check out. Moon Knight to me was always kind of a different version of Batman. So I never gave him really too much credit. I'd read him when he'd cross over with Spider-Man in a Marvel team up. I think they're doing the series in an interesting way. I think, though, that it fails newer viewers, because I think if you're a fan of Moon Knight, this is a really great series. For those of us that are on the fringe, it's like it's taking a little too long to build to a really interesting point. There's a lot of...
Wow, I'm the opposite.
Really?
I'd never heard of Moon Knight until this series. I have no clue. And I was never a comic book fan or reader growing up. So all of Marvel, I've got friends and family that know everything about everything. I don't. So it's all new to me. And I'm looking at Moon Knight from a totally different perspective. This is a brand new character. And of course, now we have all of the Egyptian gods and the Egyptian ancient history tied into it. And I'm looking at it from that perspective, and I'm fascinated with it. I think he's an amazing character.
Here's something I really love about this. Everybody's like, oh, there's this glut of comic book and sci-fi and Godzilla, and why is this all out now? It's because we were the kids, right? And now we're in charge. Now we're the guys that are directors, producers, and writers. And that's why we're now satisfying all of our kid concepts, and we're getting to see them play out in real time. And I think that's why it's so big right now, because it's servicing a wide swath of us, and then those of us that shared it with our children, and so on. So it's a really kind of an interesting little nesting, egg kind of situation. I think it's great to watch these things happen, and I think it's great that they are reintroducing us. And Marvel, I'm going to give them credit for something. When I heard that their big kick movie was going to be Iron Man, I was like, are you kidding me? Iron Man? That's one of the lame. It's Batman in an iron suit. And I was so disappointed by the concept of it. And then I heard Robert Downey Jr. was signed, and I'm like, oh, now I'm intrigued. And the fact that they took characters that really, to me, were always kind of B-level characters, Thor and Captain America. I mean, I know he was a big guy, but he was never the Spider-Man, Wolverine, Hulk, right? These guys were always kind of the superfluous characters. That's why they had to make those movies, because the big characters had already been sold out and parceled to everybody. So I was fascinated to see them take Hawkeye and Iron Man and Vision, and put these characters together and make you care about them. And then when they went to Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, really, that is such an obscure title, and it was remarkable. And then they did that whole series, and it, with the whole Endgame deal. Then they rebooted, and now they're giving us a different look at the world. Each movie has felt like its own independent thing, but it exists within a larger world. And I love that. So when Shang-Chi came out, that to me was gorgeous. It was like watching a Disney movie come to life. And it was amazing. It was beautiful stories. I love learning about the religion behind it, the gods behind it, the discipline behind these things. And then the Eternals. Again, these are wingnut characters, really, that they're making interesting. And I give a lot of credit to people that are doing that, because they're bringing something to us that was lost for a very long time. And that's the art of storytelling, and reintroducing us to history in different and more exciting ways. I've said, and I stand by this, I would be one of the best history teachers on the planet, because I can go in and talk about a location, but then talk about the ghosts that reside there. I bet you by the time I'm done at the end of the class, those kids are going to remember more about the Battle of Gettysburg than anybody who went in and just heard the straight up story of the war. When you tie it to things that are weird and obscure, that's what locks it in for people. And that's what's so great about the rise of the gods now. Seeing, and you can't, I know Marvel's doing it, but you got to remember Shazam over on DC side is doing the same thing. They're reintroducing it. So it's interesting that this is the next wave of this. It's reintroducing us to a different type of consciousness. And that to me is astounding. And I hope for once this brings us together in an interesting way. So I know my nerddom is rocking out, Jimmy, by watching all these movies and being a part of it, and seeing multiverses and all of this. But look, they're talking about everything you and I have been talking about for 15, 20 years, right? The idea that this is all layered, and that there are different universes and different timelines and coexisting. And we're seeing these things. And so we're seeing really a blend of the supernatural, the paranormal, conspiracy, and high art come together in these fascinating forms. So I'm excited to see where they take the concept of all of these new gods to the masses. And look, they found somebody like you that inspired you with Moon Knight and brought you in on something that you wouldn't, you didn't know before. You didn't know that story.
How well do you, how much do you research, for instance, we're talking about Moon Knight, ancient Egypt, how much research have you put into that over the years?
It's been segmented, because like I'm trying to focus on the next guest for my show. I'm trying to focus on what's the next topic. So I try to read the things that intrigue me and fascinate me, and then be prepared for our guests that we're going to talk with and know a background and a story so we can have a connection when we talk. So I'm like a jack of all trades. I know a little bit about a lot, but I don't know in depth in a lot of these different storylines. That's why I love watching these things kind of come to life. And then I'm the guy that then I sit there flipping through history books looking for those stories of, well, who was it? Did this really happen? When did this? Wow, this was an actual factual aspect of the belief system. These were the gods that really existed, and these are kind of spin-offs of those gods. And it certainly opens up a lot to us to examine all of the things that fascinate all of your viewers and listeners and my viewers and listeners, and it shows that we are a lot closer than people give us credit for, because there is this underlying interest.
Yeah, and what I have noticed, you brought up such a great point. I don't know this as fact, but this is the feeling that I get, that some of these writers and creators that are doing this for Marvel, and it doesn't matter, Roland Emmerich, right, Moonfall, that they are listening to Dave Schrader. They listen to Coast to Coast. They listen to Fade to Black, and they pick up on what the audiences are interested in through these esoteric subjects, these fringe things that we talk about. And they go and they do their own research, because some of it is so paralleled to a show that you and I have done. I find it way beyond coincidence. And then I go back and, like in Moon Knight, and I'm watching the steps in mummification, and I'm not, spoiler alert here, I'm not giving anything away, but I'm watching this go down, and the description of the gods and Thoth and Osiris and Horus and who they are and how it applies to, and this and scarabs and I'm watching every step, and I'm thinking to myself, they get it. And so they are turning around and taking their research from probably shows like this, and I'm sure that they have listened to it, and they turn around and they present it in a movie. And that part of history is now, that education process is pretty accurate. It hasn't been Hollywood sensationalized. It's pretty accurate to the history of Egypt.
Right. And looking at those lessons, what does that teach us then? Right. That we're able to make it, they're making it sexy. And I don't mean that in the sexualized version, but they're making it enticing and exciting to watch and learn. You're learning by accident, right? That's what my goal has always been when I started with Darkness Radio. I want to educate, enlighten, and entertain you. So somewhere in there, you're going to learn, but hopefully you have a good time. And, I'll go do a presentation at some place, and I'll be up there for an hour, and I'll come off and people are like, that has always bored the hell out of me. You made me laugh. You made me cry. You made me think. And now I want to go read more about this. And that to me is exactly what I want to be, and what I want the shows to be, is engaging different facets of those pieces that people have lost in history, those connective tissues, and finding a way to make them exciting again. That's why you're the same way in this, that it'd be easy for you and I to sit here and become the Howard Stern of paranormal and anomalous radio and shred every guest that walks through the door. But to me, it's much more fascinating to hear their story and why they believe the things that they believe, and how does it make sense to them. And you see that when I've talked to, whether it's the native culture or Australians and the indigenous culture there, any of these kind of different belief systems, you can see how it centers them. You can see how it ties everything together. And that's remarkable to me. And you're seeing that now with all of these movies, that each god system has their own place, but that they all coexist.
That's right. They all coexist. And it also shows, and we're talking about big audiences here, right? And I mean, really big audiences, and it's showing them all what is possible. And what our cultures used to think and believe in what is possible. And it is, I think it is succeeding at every level there. It is absolutely expanding the mind.
Well, listen, Jimmy, let's really kind of pull the pin on insanity, right? I love that let's take a look at the DC universe. I love that they've grasped the concept. We're saying Shazam is bringing the gods. They've been doing it all along. They've been spoon feeding us Hades. That's Batman. They've been spoon feeding us Jesus Christ. That's Superman. And if you don't believe me, they do a great scene in The Man of Steel where he's talking to the religious guy, and you see Christ kneeling at the stone with the red sash around him, and it looks like a cape. And then the one point when he puts his arms out and he kind of floats out into space, and you're like, oh geez. And then he is Kal-El, Jor-El. They are from the house of El. The Elohim is part of the God's quest, right? And that connection, that's all existed. Every one of those characters are different versions, but they've sexied them up and given you a different name to them. Right? The only begotten son from Krypton has been sent to us to save our planet, to save our people, to watch our. It's not high concept, but it's there, and you can see this for yourself.
Now, I know we're talking about Marvel tonight, but I
keep taking you down the DC lane too. So.
Trying to go DC, and so let's go DC for a second.
Sure.
The Batman has just been released, and I started watching it last week. I still haven't finished the film. Have you seen it?
Of course. I'm Dave Schrader. I've seen all of the superhero movies. I love them.
And what do you think of The Batman?
I think Robert Pattinson's Batman is one of the best Batman interpretations from the comic books. It throws back and harkens to the original 1938-39, the detective, the brooding detective, that guy that was on the outside of the law, but the law had to use his help because he had a different perspective. So I dig that aspect. I don't care for the emo Bruce Wayne, but sit down, start at the beginning and watch it all the way through, Jimmy. I think what's great about it is that they're reinventing the gods in that sense as well. They're giving you a new way to look, a fresh view of something that you thought you knew the story of. And they're giving us newer versions and new concepts of it. And you've seen, you haven't gone all the way through, but have you seen the scene that they cut out that they've now released on the internet with the Joker?
No.
Okay, watch it and then go see it. It's a great scene, but it's very Silence of the Lambs.
Okay.
But that shows you, right? The dark and the light. It coexists. Without God, without the devil, there is no God. Without God, there is no devil. There has to be conflict in order for us to make choices, for us to live, right? And that's what it's all about. The mortality of Spider-Man. And with great power comes great responsibility, right? We have to make these choices ourselves. We can elect to let the bad guy run by and look at the toll it took. Uncle Ben was killed, right?
Right.
So there's a counterbalance in each one of these stories. See, now you take me to DC and I go back to Marvel. I'm a tricky guy like that.
Yeah, well, okay.
I do like the Batman. I thought it was well done. I like the serious nature of it without it being super dark and gritty in the sense of they made him a modern day monster. They made him something to fear, which is what the whole concept of Batman was. He wanted to strike fear in the hearts of these criminals. And they got back to that really well.
Yeah, Pattinson is actually great.
Yeah.
And he's not some teen idol heartthrob dude. No, He is very, very mature, and that actually surprised me. So the criticism of Pattinson and his choice, no, that's just that's bogus. He's actually great, and I like the costume. I like the non-high techiness of what's going on.
Right.
Batmobile that he drives, a rear engine Camaro or whatever that is, that home built welded thing, and it's a pretty good car chase scene. Okay, I that's about as far as I've gotten in the movie, but it hasn't drawn me in. I don't know. The story's not there. I don't know if I'll finish the film. Now, I will because you tell me that it's good. And
you know why, though, Jimmy? You're watching it at home, probably by yourself. I think that these things, much like a religion, revolve around a congregation. right? When I'll tell you, I watched the first Austin Powers movie by myself in a theater because there was nothing else. And that night I went in, there was like 3 people in the theater. I walked out going, this is the stupidest. How do people like this? And then one of my buddies begged me to go back with him and our group of guys from work. And we went in and I laughed myself sick because all of a sudden you're part of something greater than yourself. And everybody else's excitement gets you, right? It's like I went and saw the very first new Star Wars movie, right? The Force Awakens. And I went in to a media screening where there were a dozen of us. And I thought, okay. And then I took my sons to the opening night and we all sat in a row, right? My oldest son, who's a fireman and a Navy vet, and my second son, who's in the Army and, college student and a jock. And then my youngest boys, and they're still in grade school. And we sat there and we watched that movie. And it was electric watching it with them because the nuances when they go running by and there's the Millennium Falcon, my oldest son, right, who's this tough as nails Navy guy and firefighter, he goes, oh, and and everybody started clapping, and I was like, oh, this is a religious service. These movies are religious. You're watching them together. You're sharing this thing together. And I think if you'd have been in the crowd like we were, we went to a packed theater to see the Batman. And I think it was that consensus. And same with, I was there opening night in 1988 to see that, the Batman, Tim Burton, or 89. And my friends got me into the theater, even though it had sold out, and they got me my seat. And I sat there and I sat on the edge of my seat transfixed because Batman was my guy. And I just loved it. And the crowd and and the claps. And when the Batwing comes flying up and stops in the middle of the moon and then goes back down, the crowd was roaring. Had you watched it on your own, you're missing something.
Well, I loved Tim Burton's Batman, by the way.
Yeah. But do you see my simile here of it's a religious faction of being together in the congregation and the group?
Yeah, of course. And I would have to agree with that. But then when like recent examples, the movie Moonfall released 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I've seen it like 5 times. I can't get enough of that film. Don't Look Up. I've managed to watch Don't Look Up like once a day for 3 months now.
But there's something about it that speaks specifically to you as opposed to something that you need to be a part of, right? Like you watch another weird example, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, I saw that in theaters and I thought it sucked.
Yeah, you're like, what the hell? But then you go see it with the full cast and crew and people throwing bread and it becomes an amazing.
Yep.
Because it's so much and it's chaos and it's anarchy and it's beautiful. And that's what makes it. The movie itself sucked. That's why it failed in the theaters. It wasn't until the people that realized what it was, which was accepting of everybody. And everybody can be a part of this. That's when it became something bigger than it was. So these movies speak to you. The movie that speaks to me to no end, The Greatest Showman and About Time. I can watch those movies 1,000 times and never get bored of them. They make me cry at the same point. They make me cheer at the same point. They hit every emotional note. It's not going to have that same effect. And I don't need to see it in a crowd to dig what I'm watching. But then there are some things where you just need that element of community. And I think the superhero community and these type of movies are like that. I think maybe that's why the TV shows are catching a really interesting part of the audience, but I think they're missing out on the sense of community of being there together to see shows like Moon Knight and WandaVision and Hawkeye. And, I think there's a little aspect of that's lost, but it's perpetuating the bigger experience, right? These are like YMCA camps until we get to go to church on Sunday, right?
Sure.
And then we're with our whole congregation again.
Sure. Now, going back to Eternals, and then we'll discuss more after the break. We've got about 4 minutes. The opening scene in Eternals. Now, if I would have never watched the film if I would have read the reviews first.
Right.
Okay. Right. Okay. But I didn't read the reviews. I just watched the movie. And the opening scene, which takes place 5000 BC in Mesopotamia, a subject that has been discussed on this show 500 times, right? The dawn of civilization, when everything happened, the battle. Was it Egypt first or was it Mesopotamia first? Who had everything first? And it was the start of everything. And that's it, right? The cradle of civilization. And the opening scene is Mesopotamia, 5000 BC. Spaceship arrives, right? Nobody knows what's going on.
Right.
And suddenly the cradle of civilization started with gods, right? Gods that arrived on a craft. The people on the beach, they don't know, right? They don't know what's going on. And suddenly that's the start of civilization. What did you think of that opening scene? Because the symbology there of Mesopotamia and 5000 BC, to those of the initiated, we understand what is happening here. To the other millions of people that are going to watch this film are not. They are getting their education for the first time. What'd you think of that opening scene?
I liked it. I liked the concept that they were going with. I thought they did it beautifully by weaving in history. But to me, I think they did it just as well at the beginning of, was it Star Trek Beyond or Into Darkness, where they start off and they're in that, and it's with the new Chris Pine cast, where they're going in to get something, these scrolls or something. I can't remember what it was, but they're not supposed to be seen. They're not supposed to interfere. Remember what is the prime directive? Don't interfere with these cultures. And they're like, we got to do this, and all of a sudden the Enterprise rises out of the water and they all look and they kind of erase their God and they draw the Enterprise in the sand. And it's created a new paradigm for these people, right? Just like the Roswell crash created a new paradigm. The lights in the sky in the book of Exodus created a new paradigm of what is a god. Is it a craft that's flying above you that gives you shelter against the sun and rain and comes to earth to talk to you and then rises back up? There's different ways to look at each one of these stories. And I think that's what's so compelling, is how do we tell that story and keep it fresh and give you a different view on it? But they did. I thought it was a great opening. I thought it was great to see that kind of mix of reality and fantasy come together in a way that, oh wow, that could have happened. Maybe that is what influenced that. The book, and going off the book of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I read it because I had it in an airplane and it was sitting there, and I picked it up and I started reading it. I loved it. Why? Because they wove history throughout it so cleverly. And then you'd be like, my God, that does make sense of why things were so horrible in different parts of Abraham Lincoln's life. There were vampires, and it's a great way to play with the lore. And when you can take the lore and what was the famous saying, when legend is, bigger than reality, print the legend, right?
Right.
And I think that's what it's teaching us, is that a lot of these stories, somebody did something spectacular, so we made him a god. Well, somebody taught us, and we made him a god.
Yeah, I've got to get to a break here, and
sure.
We'll talk about this when we come back. But what was interesting for me was not only does this happen in 5000 BC in Mesopotamia, and those that are watching are going to go maybe look up Mesopotamia and look this up. But one of the Eternals was Gilgamesh.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go and you look at the character Gilgamesh, and as a fan of this, you start to do the research and you see the tie-ins with Mesopotamia and the Sumerian and the culture and the story, and it's all right there at 5000 BC. I thought it was just very cleverly done, educating the masses with science fiction and film. This is Fade to Black. I'm your Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, the one and only Dave Schrader. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and this year, June 18th, 2022, the Disclosure Fest Foundation presents the Mass Meditation Initiative. It's Saturday, June 18th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., one day only at the Los Angeles State Historic Park in downtown Los Angeles, California, right next to Chinatown. I'm hosting the event again this year with music performances by Trevor Hall, The Desert Dwellers, Poran Gi, and many, many more on 4 separate stages. There's 16 stages in total, over 30 acres in downtown Los Angeles, with vendors and tents and presentations and workshops with Billy Carson, Adam Apollo, Lori Spagna, Laura Eisenhower, Brad Olson, David Palmer, and many, many more. It's all simple to do. Just go to disclosurefest.org for all of your tickets, information, and a full schedule of the day's events. Again, disclosurefest.org. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dave Schrader is with us. Darkness, Dave. He'll never shun that. Dave Schrader is with us. And tonight we're talking about the rise of the gods and how Marvel is educating the masses today. And Dave, check this out. There's I want to talk about Doctor Strange.
Sure.
Talk about Doctor Strange. And yes, oh man.
Yeah.
So bad. I want to do that so bad. One of these days, I'm just going to be walking through the house and it's just going to happen. Head straight to Costco. Just walk through.
Wait a minute. So you want to have the ability to open a portal and your place that you want to show up at is Costco.
Home Depot. Tool section. power tools.
Welcome to the Old Man in Black show.
I know, right? And but Doctor Strange, and again, we can from the outside at a very shallow level, because I'm a shallow person, think that we know something about Shangri-La or Nepal or strange people dressed in orange robes that burning incense, and that we have a concept of what's going on, right? We know the name Dalai Lama, and so we're educated, right, or whatever, right? And then Doctor Strange comes along, and you see the character. What would he have, like a Ferrari or something? That he crashes,
right.
And his hands, and you see the struggle. But anyway, then you get immersed in not only ancient religions and traditions of monks, but time travel, parallel worlds, the multiverse, and discipline. And that I learned more in Doctor Strange than I had learned in my entire life about that culture and what is
Eastern
going
philosophy.
on.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, it's remarkable, and again, though, you see that it ties into things that we talk about on our shows all the time, and the concepts of gods among men, and time existing in many different ways. That it gives us a new perspective at the way we look at how life is lived. And I'll be honest with you, as we're progressing, Jimmy, I'm starting to think I'm living multiple lives at once. I'm living in multiple parallel universes at once. I think that explains away things like the Mandela effect. I think that aspects like that, like you see in the multiverse, when Doctor Strange makes the world forget about Peter Parker being Spider-Man, that's a Mandela effect, right? That's a blip. But I think that's a temporal lobe. How many times, if you think, and I don't know where you stand on the Mandela effect concept, but I've got a lot of those little weird bits in my life, and ones that I share. But then I look at how many times in my life I probably should have been dead. A couple where I've actually died on the operating table. I've been in accidents that should have killed me. I've been in moments that a split second in any direction I would have been dead. And I wonder if I truly did die, but my consciousness took a step to the left and I entered this reality. So it's close enough that things are just a little off, and it's not enough to completely distract me. And every time I bump that line, I get moved over just a foot next evolution. So, the Bible says we're supposed to live these long lives. Maybe it's not linear. Maybe it's more like a step. We live the full life, but it's living many lives that gets us to that point. If that makes sense.
Well, and jumping from, I like the segue. I like the way you went into Spider-Man. Very, very smooth. Very, very radio, Dave. Very smooth. Because, and I really liked No Way Home. I mean, I really did. I thought that was an excellent movie. Much, much better than I thought it was going to be. And anyway, before we talk about the fandom of different characters, Spider-Man was never my focus. The story in No Way Home is just absolutely incredible. But it's Doctor Strange. He's actually, it's more about Doctor Strange and what he does in this movie than it is about Spider-Man himself. And you're right about
it. Is it about showing the multi-layers of one person?
That's where I'm going.
Right.
And not only, I caught myself thinking some of the same things that you just brought up, because going back and the deep philosophy that was introduced here, man, because it was deep. Do you really want everybody to forget who you are? Do you really? And if you had to do that, would you? And then what would stop you from doing that? And then are you selective in who gets these choices? And then when it actually happens, well, there's chaos that's introduced, of course, but has this happened in our own lives? And that concept is what is introduced to the audiences. The possibilities are there, and it forces people to think about this.
Well, listen, the whole concept of No Way Home is the fact that we do live these multiple lives in a sense of how we treat one another, right? The villains of every Spider-Man movie before that have lost their lives or have finally sacrificed themselves and done this, they've all come together into this new universe and a new concept. They don't have to die. We can try to find a way to help them. And man, imagine if we injected that into our world right now. Instead of stepping over the homeless, was there a more proactive thing we could do to help them better their scenario? And instead of looking at them as, ugh, but looking them as Jimmy Church, as Dave Schrader, as our mom, as our dad, what could we do to maybe set that person on a whole new path that could help out? And I know that seems very grandiose and serendipitous that, maybe we'd have that ability, but I think that there is more to that. And I think that that movie shows a really great aspect of, there was the dark Peter Parker played by Andrew Garfield, right? He had broken because of his loss. And then we see the kind of, oh gosh, shucks, youth pastor version of Spider-Man, Peter Parker with Tobey Maguire. And then we see this new kind of blend of this conflicted kid that sees the world in a different way. And that's us as we age through life, man. That's all we were seeing was the old down again, this whole kind of wisdom and wonder of the way we examine life. And I think that movies have done this in a really remarkable way. But it's, people don't want to think that far outside the box. Most of us just want to go in and get entertained. But you could look at these movies and de-evolve them and realize just how remarkable these things are. But they're all following the same story that even the gods follow. The gods were reluctant heroes. They stepped up because nobody else would. They did something because there was a tyrant or an overlord god that did something to them, right? Every god has a god that created that god. And it kind of continues into that way. And that's, I that's why I love all of this. I love the concepts, the high concepts of looking deeper beyond the veneer of what we're watching and what can we actually take away from it.
Is it as remarkable to you as it is to me, where these fans of comic books are walking encyclopedias of different religions and concepts, and only because they're a fan, right? Only because they've watched the movies, but now they understand ancient Chinese culture, or
they at least have an opening to it. They may not fully understand it, but at least now they're open to those concepts, which is great.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, when going back to the opening of the show, I never even heard the word Ragnarok. Okay, all right, you are on your way to the premiere. I had to go back after hanging up, going, man, he caught me by surprise. I didn't even know how to answer to that.
That kid's a nerd.
So I ended up going to see the film. I think it was the next day we went and saw it in theaters because of you. But then I went back and checked out Ragnarok and what it meant to Norse mythology. I mean, it is the foundation of it all. And I didn't know. And if it wasn't for Marvel, I would have never known.
Here's something fascinating, right? Like we brought up at the beginning, Horus was Jesus before Jesus was Jesus. Every birth of the gods finds an end and a new birth begins and a new life progresses and something happens, right? These things are set into motion for a reason. And we're always finding these gods. You posed the question at the beginning, do we need gods to exist? In a sense, yes. And people will say, well, I'm agnostic, or I don't believe in God at all. But you do. You believe in a God in the sense that you then believe that you're in charge of your destiny and there's nothing else out there, which is in fact then a God, right? You are creating or manifesting your destiny, right? The concept of Satanism, not devil worship, but Satanism isn't about the devil. It's about owning power. It's about realizing the God is within you, right? And that you don't have to hang it on some bearded guy floating in the clouds. So everybody's got these interesting angles to what benefits them for religion, but it's a belief system. What is the song? Even if you choose not to believe, you're making a choice, right? So there's choices exist in every one of these angles, and that's what we see in every one of these storylines, and how these measure up. What does it mean to us in life? There's a great scene in the movie Mr. Destiny with Michael Caine and Jim Belushi, which is probably rare that anybody's ever said there's a great scene in a Jim Belushi movie. But hear me out on this, Jimmy Church. There's a scene where Jim Belushi just kind of regrets life, and had he hit that ball, if he would have done that thing, and Michael Caine, he starts tapping, and you see the little gold balls kind of appear, and he shows how every action we've ever had has a purpose, and that those purpose, by taking one out, you've now set all of these other pathways out there. And isn't that what really religion and the gods are about? It's about making choices and seeing the totality of the story instead of the individual of just what I want. It's seeing a bigger thing.
Now, I'm going to argue with you then.
Go for
it. About Jim Belushi.
I was teasing.
No, I think he's great.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just joking around about it.
If we go back to
K9?
Oh no. You got to go deep. You got to go deep. And there is what I think is a documentary
mm-hmm.
on UFOs. And it's a movie starring Jim Belushi. It's called Real Men. And that movie came out in the mid 80s, somewhere 85, 86, right in there.
I've seen it.
And Real Men starred what's his name from Three's Company?
John Ritter.
John Ritter. It's John Ritter and Jim Belushi. And Jim Belushi is a CIA agent, and it's a movie about contact and UFOs and aliens, and there's this secret to the universe, and what aliens want from us. That's what the movie is about. And you go watch that, and if you don't see Jim Belushi at his absolute very best, I mean, John Ritter's John Ritter, right? Okay, but go watch that movie. Go watch Real Men. And
right. I've never heard of it. I'll have to watch it.
I've been a Jim Belushi fan ever since. I talk about Real Men. It's a comedy, but I call it a documentary.
I was kidding about Jim Belushi. I actually grew up in the area. Our high school, he used to come do the dance-a-thons, and he would show up. I worked at the Plitt Theater in Bloomingdale at Stratford Square Mall, and he and his mom would come into movies there at the theater, and I knew them. So that taking a cheap shot at him, but it's, he's a fun guy, and but he's not been in some of the best movies.
No, wait. You hung out with Jim Belushi?
No. Well, in a sense that I went to Lake Park High School in Roselle, and we used to do these dance-a-thons every year. Jim Belushi was our local celebrity that would come to the high school to cheer everybody on. Yeah, dead serious. And then he and his mom, Judy, not Judy, blanking. But they used to come to Stratford Square theaters and see the movies when I was ushering. So there were times you pass them in because they're Jim Belushi and John Belushi's mom. So yeah.
I just learned something new. No, I didn't know that. No, I've always been a Jim Belushi fan. I just it was Real Men. We all know, John Belushi, and that Jim was, riding his coattails. All right, that was the way that everybody felt about Jim. I always thought Jim had real talent.
Yeah, he did.
I've always felt that. Now going back, staying on Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I think the point really needs to be driven home as well is that science fiction in general shows us what is possible, and you are able to tie in. Star Trek did this really good, and I think that Marvel is doing this, where you can take science fiction and an alien race, the universe, and tie that right into what is going on in real time culturally here on this planet. and have these examples laid out. And science fiction does that for us. And yes, we know it's time travel, it's the multiverse, it's parallel worlds, it's faster than the speed of light, it's warp drives, it's teleportation. It's all of these things. But I think it goes much deeper than that. And another example would be Arthur C. Clarke. You just brought up Satan. In Childhood's End, E.T. was a demon. Red, horns, green eyes, wings, hooves, right? And wouldn't show himself to the world because he didn't want to freak out the planet, right? And so he stayed hidden, right? And only talked behind a one-way mirror kind of situation, and didn't want to reveal himself until the time was right. And now, how crazy is that? That's a deep philosophical approach to all of this that you just don't, you need to know the person. Forget about what they look like on the outside. You have to know the person. And this deep concept was put out there, hidden in science fiction.
Right. It's always been a part of who we are. And it's looking deeper than just the face value of what a story is to what's the story that we're actually being told, right? You can look at one aspect of it, and that's to be said in anything that goes on around us. There's a different element to the story that demands to be heard. That's what ghosts are. That's history demanding to be remembered. It's ghosts that are traumatically killed or have lived in a certain period that we need to remember. We need to know that this existed. And I think that's why there is a glut of paranormal TV shows that have done so well. It's funny, when I watch the boards and chat boards and things like that, I noticed that one of the key elements is people love the history at the beginning of every show, talking about this location. Why would it be haunted? What kind of things took place on this land, inside this house? Who are the people that live there? And then understanding why there would be an element of them left behind, because it makes us understand that we are more than just this mistake, this blip in the universe, that there will always be an element of us left behind in one way or shape or another.
The ability to repeat the message with superheroes on such a grand scale, which is, it's okay to be different. And if you are different, you are going to have struggles. Every one of these superheroes has got the gnarliest personal demons, right, that they're dealing with. Every single one of them. And they're different. So it's showing everybody it's okay to be different. You don't want to be the same. And that is the message, going back to the origins of comic books and the way that it's presented today in the film industry.
Well, even, let's take a look at that. Lex Luthor, right? We consider one of the most vile villains in the DC universe because he's trying to take down our hero, Superman. But to Lex Luthor, he is the hero of his own story. He's saying, for God's sakes, Jimmy, you are worshiping a man that if he ever decides to, could wipe us all out. We can't allow this power to run free. We have to find a way to channel this to protect ourselves. He's the hero of his own story. And I think that's what's interesting about villains and movies like Maleficent that came out, that gave us a different look at the evil queen from Sleeping Beauty. And, Wicked came out, the book series, and he did a book series on like the ugly stepsisters, right? The stepsisters, talking about those. And you realize that everybody's got a story. There's a different angle. They do it beautifully in the TV show Cobra Kai, right? We all saw Daniel LaRusso's story growing up. Now we get to see Johnny's story. And he was bullied and beat up by this new kid, and everybody took his side. And even when you look at it, Johnny took the beating and then said, "You're all right, LaRusso." And he still got beat up in life, right? Because he didn't.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. What do we remember from the Karate Kid? We remember the kick.
Right.
We remember the kick, and we were all so happy, right? We cheered. And then he goes see Cobra Kai, and he gets a whole nother story, and he ended up liking him. And by the way, how many seasons? 5, 6?
I think 5, maybe 4 right now, and the 5th one's coming up.
Okay. Really? I thought it was 5. Okay. Oh, it doesn't matter. All of them excellent. Right. I mean, I didn't think I was going to like Cobra Kai. Oh, man, I couldn't.
Neither did I. But it tells a story in a different way. It gives you a look at the villain side of things. And maybe there is something more to this. You know, another movie that does that beautifully, the movie is stupid. Dracula 2000 is not a great movie, right? It is not a great movie. It's okay. But the best part of it is at the end of the movie, when Dracula's standing on top of that bar in New Orleans, and he's shaking his fist at God, and you realize that Dracula is Judas Iscariot. He's the one. So the reason for the aversion to silver is he was paid in 13 silver shekels for the life of Christ. The reason that he could never be in daylight is because he hung himself. So now he can only live in those. He'll never get to see the joy of daylight again. So, and the reason he's got the aversion to the cross is because he betrayed his best friend who was hung on the cross and died. And it's interesting because you've always thought, well, Judas, what a prick, right? This guy's just not a good guy. But in this movie, he's shaking his fist at God and he goes, it was foretold. It was a prophecy. I did my job. Without me, your son would have nothing to do, right? I had to be the one to turn him in. And it gives you a different perspective where you go, my God, that's brilliant.
Well, I'll take your word for it, but I'm not watching Dracula 2000 after the show.
Watch the last 10 minutes is all you need to see.
Now, here's the deal. So I am Lex Luthor and Elon Musk is Superman, and I'm going to play that role. Okay. Got to be careful, man, because Elon Musk, the one that everybody loves, is about to take over the world.
Is that so bad? Sometimes you got to let Superman take over the world.
You know what? Check this out. It's about it was probably 5 or 6 months ago, and I got sent the video and the comments about Superman being Jesus, right? That you talked about earlier, and the scene. And I watched that. I can't get that out of my head now. I really can't. It is so closely parallel. And I never put it together over all of these years. I never, and sure enough, yeah, I think it's there. And I think it's intentional.
For Jor-El loved his son and the planet Earth so much that he sent his son to protect the planet. And his only begotten son was launched out there. And who are the villains? Why, they're the fallen angels. They're Zod and his people that they put into a parallel dimension that shatters, and then they come to Earth, like the demons or the Anunnaki, right? Or these angels that have fallen, that have come down, that are asserting their power. Oh my God, it's all religion. Every story has got a great religious theme to it and storyline.
Send your email to Dave Schrader at gmail.com. This is Fade to Black.
That is not my email.
Our guest tonight's Dave Schrader, the one and only. We'll be right back after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer and UNX networks. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Life Change Tea has a great offer for you right now. The 3-pack special. Save $15 on their popular flavor pack of Super Tea. Get all 3 flavors, original, peppermint, and pomegranate. Life Change Tea tastes great. It's an all-natural, gentle cleanse with a unique blend of 12 herbs that helps keep your digestive tract clean, clear, and healthy. And it's so easy to make. Just brew, steep, refrigerate, and drink. Serve hot or cold. And 1 to 2 servings a day is all you need. You take care of the outside. Do the same for your inside. Life Change Tea is made right here in the United States and helps thousands feel their best. It's an important part of any daily routine. So go to getthetea.com/F2B. That's getthetea.com/F2B. That's getthetea.com/F2B.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge, and we're heading to Egypt this October. Come join Jimmy Church, myself, and the Forbidden Knowledge team as we spend a week exploring Giza, the Great Sphinx, the Great Pyramid, Saqqara, Dashur, Aswan, Edfu, Dendara, Karnak, and we'll celebrate Jimmy's birthday in Luxor. The Forbidden Tour of Egypt is this October 5th through the 12th and includes a 4-day Nile cruise, expert Egyptologists, and a chance to explore Egypt with Jimmy and I as your host through your journey of a lifetime. Space is limited, so make your reservations now. Please visit forbiddenknowledge.com for information and complete itinerary. That's forbiddenknowledge.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and this year, June 18th, 2022, the Disclosure Fest Foundation presents the Mass Meditation Initiative. It's Saturday, June 18th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., one day only at the Los Angeles State Historic Park in downtown Los Angeles, California, right next to Chinatown. I'm hosting the event again this year with music performances by Trevor Hall, The Desert Dwellers, Poran Gi, and many, many more on 4 separate stages. There's 16 stages in total, over 30 acres in downtown Los Angeles, with vendors and tents and presentations and workshops with Billy Carson, Adam Apollo, Lori Spagna, Laura Eisenhower, Brad Olson, David Palmer, and many, many more. It's all simple to do. Just go to disclosurefest.org for all of your tickets, information, and a full schedule of the day's events. Again, disclosurefest.org.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dave Schrader. Dave Schrader. When I grow up, I want to be like Dave. I do. I want to be like Dave. And I say that with such What
are you doing here, Jim? Let me get that for you. A little itch on the end of your nose. Hey, you're looking good tonight, buddy.
Oh, hold on. That's actually pretty good.
That's pretty good, huh? Hey, come here, Jim. Look at this face. Look at this punum. Look at this punum.
Look at the love in my eyes.
I know. It's just like you're staring at me like
how I gaze upon thee.
Jimmy tells me, don't be using that crappy green screen when you're on my show, Schrader. So I put in one with his picture. Suddenly he's okay with it. I see.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Totally. And now, okay, so this is when we just we've covered Egypt and Mesopotamia and Far Eastern religion and China and Asian cultures and the Norse gods, right? Yes. And the Roman and Greek mythology. And then we have Black Panther, Wakanda. Wakanda forever, introducing the world to African culture. I thought it was just amazing.
Yeah, it was beautifully done. Again, another one that gave you a different perspective into a realm of the possibilities. If people weren't held back, what could they have achieved? And I think that's always been a remarkable step of the whole Black Panther series.
And what did you make of? It seems that send your email to Dave at gmail.com, that Marvel wants to be all inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm saying that because it's being done, and I think it's fantastic, and I think it's great. I don't think they're doing it because that there is some social thing that they're trying to apply. No, I don't think it. I don't think that's what it is. I don't think it's reactionary. Black Panther's been around for a long time, and the way that they dealt with it in Wakanda, which dealt with not only the religious and the cultural things that have been going on for thousands of years and established in Africa, but it's also the struggles and the things that go on in the oppression, and that was introduced in a way to the world that was I just want to say it was amazing, and they handled it really, really well.
Well, there is right now, all of these comic book companies are showing a lot of understanding and diversity. However, I do think some of it's reactionary. I know they've now got an African American Batman, an African American Superman that are doing it, and that's fine. Shake things up. They've got all these different aspects now. The Robin, one of the Robins, is now bisexual, I believe.
Right? Yeah.
John Kent, Superman's son, is bisexual. It almost feels like they're, instead of slowly ingratiating new characters into, it's like, let's make sure everybody's covered. Nobody's going to be mad at us. We're going to, in this cancel culture world, I just don't want to, I love science fiction. I love Doctor Who. That show has been talk about a god, right? This is something that teaches you about time and the precious nature of life. And they announced that they're going to bring a woman into the role of the Doctor. And I wasn't excited. And it wasn't because I thought, oh, no, the Doctor's a man. I thought, oh, you guys are trying to catch this Me Too wave. And they did that. They brought it, and her character is not well developed. She's a great actress. She's and she's done the best she could with a crappily written show. If they make her too snarky, then she's a witch with a capital B. If they make her too motherly, well, that's pandering.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to make. They should have just made her a character that it didn't matter, male, female, black, white, red, green, striped. It's a character who's got a drive and a real life to make things better for other people. And that's what the whole premise is of. But they missed that opportunity. And I feel they failed Jodie Whittaker, the actress, in that role, because they are trying to step in certain things that I don't think they need to rush. They don't. And obviously bring in a person, but don't bring it in because you feel, God, we have to bring in a woman doctor. Do it because we've got a great actress. She's going to be an amazing character. I can't wait to write for the Doctor. You know what I'm saying? There are reasons to do things because you've got a good idea, not because you feel social pressure.
What's that series called?
Doctor Who.
Oh, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking Doctor Strange. There's a female Doctor Strange. Female Doctor Who.
I think there is a female Doctor Strange in the comic books now.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm trying to keep up. I haven't seen the new Doctor Who. And I did look. You would have to commit the next 40 years of your life to catch up on Doctor Who.
No, you can start with the new block that came out. It's only 10 seasons, 13 seasons in, something like that right now. So you could catch up on the new Who. And they pretty much catch you up on the old stories pretty quickly. But it's beautifully written, well acted, very, very good series.
Well, I did go back. I know we're talking about Marvel, but I went and cherry picked because I don't know anything about Doctor Who. This was a couple of years ago. So I went back, to the first season and watched a couple of episodes, and then went to 1962, 63, whatever it was, right? And watched pieces of everything, and started to get more serious in the later stuff, trying to pick up on the sensation of Doctor Who to see if I can get the vibe. Because man, it's got to be the longest running TV series in the history of television, I would think, by now.
I think it's the 60th anniversary is coming up soon. But there was like a 15 or 18-year lag between one season and the next. So, but it's a fascinating story, and they tell a good tale. So I would recommend, if you get a chance, go back and watch, starting with Christopher Eccleston, the new Who they call it. They pay homage to all of the past stuff, and they show the Doctors, different iterations. But it's an intriguing element of the story that and to me, again, you're watching a god that evolves, and he's constantly changing and looking at things through a different lens and through the eyes of different iterations of themselves, like we do as we grow in life. But it's a lot of fun, and it's to me, it's one of the better. I'll tell you what, go find the episode with Matt Smith. It's called Vincent and the Doctor. Jimmy, you will treat yourself to that. If you just watch one of the new episodes, Vincent and the Doctor is one of the most beautifully written episodes of any sci-fi show I've ever seen.
Well, what I did is, this is how I have heard of Doctor Who, right? Never watched it. So I watched Good Omens. This is how new I am.
Yeah.
This is how new I am to Doctor Who. So I watched Good Omens, David Tennant.
Right.
Blew my mind, right?
Yeah.
So what do? Pick it up, David Tennant, Wikipedia, and IMDb. I find another TV series that he was in.
Jessica Jones. He was Killraven in Jessica Jones.
Not Jessica Jones. This is a British. He played it like a detective.
Broadchurch.
So I watched that. Great, right? Yeah. Loved it. And then I see Doctor Who. I went, oh, really? And so I went and watched the Doctor Who's with David Tennant. That's how I got sucked into Doctor Who. Was from Good Omens, which was from Broadchurch, and then
so you're going back in time. You're taking the evolutionary back trail.
Yeah. David Tennant, man, I think he's just remarkable. He's remarkable. Now, okay, so back to Marvel. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
Can I go on the record right now?
Please do, Mr. Church.
That's the best Marvel Universe movie. Yep. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 was really good too as well. I thought, yep. Guardians of the Galaxy. Yep. Yep.
That's all right. You've been wrong before, Jimmy. People are used to it.
It's okay. I'll take it on the chin. I've seen it so many times, and the combination of, like, one of the best soundtracks musically ever done in any film, and that's a bold statement right there, number one. Number two, great comedy, great script, and it's dealing with the expanse of the universe. And it's like, it's got everything that I need in a film. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and I know there's a 3 coming out next year. I can't wait for that. But I think that's the best thing that Marvel's put out. And
I would say consistently, it is one of the best of their serials. Right? Thor kind of fell with the second Dark. I can't remember what it's called, Dark World or something, and then it came back with Ragnarok. So but again, these are all kind of middling characters. I was just impressed that they made me care about Guardians of the Galaxy.
I loved Guardians of the Galaxy, and for a lot of reasons. Now, if I am going to, it's the science that is in Guardians of the Galaxy that I enjoyed so much, and it had everything else that I need. It had great music, great comedy, great characters, great interaction, great script, great story. So that's why it's up there. But that being said, I think Avengers Endgame may be tied I think it's that good, and I understand Iron Man and things, but the symbology and the philosophy that is woven into Endgame forced you to think, and in different stages of the movie too as well. I mean, it was like Nietzsche deep, very philosophical.
Right, with the way the universe is, the way people treat each other, how we're failing the planet, we're failing each other. Let's snap away half of it all so that we now understand what it's like to have a major loss like that and see if people can rebound and do it. So there is that, right? That's why in the, what was it, the Hawkeye series, when he's in the bathroom, it says Thanos was right on the wall.
Yes. Yeah.
So the concept is, it's a heady concept that they slipped into a comic book movie, and it makes you think. Who, again, Thanos was the hero of his own story. He was trying to right what is obviously a very unright ship at this point.
You know, the personal demons, right? And what Thanos was going through, and his goal, and it's so philosophical. He just wanted to sit on his front porch. Right? What a heavy concept for a movie. And you think about the kids that are going to see it, right? And how much of it is going past them, and how deep the movie actually was, including, now I gotta say, did you expect the end to be the end? Right? Did you think it was actually going to happen?
You mean the snap?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, which one are you talking, in Endgame or Infinity War?
No, well, okay. No, I'm talking about Endgame.
With Tony Stark?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't see that coming as much, but I thought it was beautifully done.
Tony Stark, man. It was half of the Avengers poofed.
Well, that's the end of Infinity War, right? Endgame wasn't Endgame when they righted the world again?
Okay, now I'm confused.
Yeah, me too. That's what happens at our age, Jim.
I'm confused. Wasn't it Endgame where everybody dissolved?
I can't. I'm sure the people on here are watching. They can give it. Okay, Google. What is the series Avengers? I can't even think of what I'm trying to ask it.
Wait a minute here.
Yeah, wasn't it? I think it was Infinity War, and then it ended with the Endgame, or maybe vice versa. You probably got me on this one.
Wait a minute here. Hold on a minute. I have it backwards. Which was the last one?
I think that was Endgame.
Endgame was 2019.
Yeah.
So Endgame is
when Tony Stark makes the sacrifice.
This is right. But Spider-Man gets dissolved.
That's at the end of Infinity War, the first of the two movies.
What about Scarlett Johansson? That was Infinity War when she dissolves?
She doesn't dissolve because she's the one that goes with Hawkeye to try to get the stone in Endgame when she goes through the time travel.
The green chick from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Gamora.
Yeah.
For the guy that loves this movie, and it's one of the best he does in the green chick. How dare you, sir?
The antennas.
Oh, that's Mantis.
No, that's...
Yes, Mantis is the one with the antennas. The green chick is Gamora.
Gamora doesn't have antennas?
No. Jimmy, come here.
What?
Let me hug you, Jim. Just come here. Let me hold
you.
Jim, come on. Are you asking? I'm a comic nerd, dude. Are you just trying to out me? Are you trying? It doesn't matter now, Jim. I'm old. You can't nerd me.
I've got to get the
See, look at Zero Cool is telling you Mantis is antenna, green chick, no antenna.
Okay, hold on a minute here. Man, we just
Deb from Sacramento's #2 Age of Ultron. I don't know what she's coming from.
Mantis is antenna, green chick is no antenna.
That's right. Yep.
Hold on a minute here. Oh man. #2 is Age of Ultron. Okay, so I'm glad you he said the green chick. But my point being the deep philosophical meaning with Thanos, where he just wanted to sit, he wanted to retire, he just wanted to cruise, he just wanted to sit on his porch and do his thing. He didn't want the complexities and the weight of the universe on him anymore. I just thought that was so heavy.
Yeah. And trust me, there are days with all of my children when I just wish I had that damn glove.
The stones.
The Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, the stones. Gamora plays a great part in the movie. Yeah, totally. 100% with her antennas.
No, that's Mantis.
Oh, that's Mantis?
Good God, man. You keep dragging me into Marvel. You don't even know the characters. Come on.
And who, hey.
The one with the long, furry snout, that's Snuffleupagus, and he's Sesame Street. You're wrong there, too, Jim.
Check this out. I have got friends that...
Are you bragging right now? That you have
close friends and family members that not only... And I didn't know this about them. That have huge comic book collections, that know every storyline. WandaVision, when that happened, I thought WandaVision was just this thing, right? So and the discussions that are going on around. I mean, and I couldn't hang. And this is the thing. They assumed that I was a geek, was a comic book geek, and that I understood all of it. I don't.
Right.
I don't. And I watched all of this stuff one off. Thor, and you're right about this. Growing up, Odin and Loki and things. Yeah, okay, on the fringe. But growing up, Thor was not a comic book that anybody read that I knew of.
Right.
And who Thor is today, that's a whole nother thing. But Thor was a fringe thing. So I don't know anything about Thor. When the movies came out, I'm learning about Thor for the first time. I don't know the backstory. I don't know anything about it. I don't. And now I can't wait for Thor: Love of Thunder to come out. And I thought all of the Thor movies were good, by the way.
I did too, but the second one was definitely the weaker of the three.
Which was
Dark World.
The Dark World.
Yeah. So, they can't all be Indiana Jones, right? They've all you got to have a couple that fail. All right, I got to ask you, Jimmy, right now, this is going to depend on if we can continue to be friends or not. What did you think of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, or whatever the hell it was, the last one?
Was that the Crystal Skull?
Yeah, the fourth one was the one with the Crystal Skull.
Okay, no, hold on a minute here.
Are you time slipping? Are you already seeing the future to the fifth movie, which hasn't come out yet?
Hold on.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I think it was.
Okay. Oh, Kingdom of the Crystal. Hold on for a second. Okay, let's just go. Let's just go with. Let's go with the list here. Okay, so Raiders.
Temple of Doom.
It was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I thought they were after that.
No, that's coming out. What, next year? The fifth final installment of Harrison Ford. Yeah.
It was. What's the kid's name that played the Baby Jones?
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf kind of killed it for me.
I got to tell you, yeah. Aside from Shia LaBeouf, I think the world can agree that was a character that wasn't really needed. But to see, dude, I squealed like a teenage girl at an NSYNC concert when they threw him out of the trunk and you see the hat, and all of a sudden they show the shadow and he picks the hat up and puts the hat on and flips the brim. Yeah. Dude, I was like, I was so pumped for that movie. And I love the fact that he was old and he miscalculated things. I thought it was a great flick. I thought it was fun from start to finish. They could have done without Shia LaBeouf, but I was so excited to meet or see Marion return. I got to meet her at Dragon Con a number of years ago, and I went up to her and I was standing there, and she had like 3 people in line, and I got up there with my friend and I just looked at her and I said, my God, you are more beautiful in person than you are in the movies. And she just said, can I give you a hug? I'm like, yes, you may. So I got a picture with me and Karen Allen, and she was just one of the sweetest. I loved her.
It was Karen Allen, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The opening scene with Shia, what was Boy Scouts, right?
No. Oh my God, Jimmy, we can't be friends anymore. I gotta go.
What movie was with the Boy Scouts in the beginning?
That's River Phoenix playing young Indiana Jones in the beginning of The Last Crusade, which was the third movie.
Okay, who plays Indiana Jones?
Good night, everybody. Remember to tune in to Paranormal 60 with Dave Schrader. I know all of these questions. I don't understand this guy. Harrison Ford. Han Solo.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna share a story. This is my Harrison Ford story. Okay. And I'm not making this up. I'm not going to go into details how this happened or anything like that. But let me say this. Who's his wife?
Now she is Ally McBeal. What's her name? Callista Flockhart. She's
in the back seat. Harrison Ford sitting here. I'm driving, pulling up to Harrison's house, the gates. And he turns around to Callista, goes, do you have the clicker? And she goes, no. And he goes, I don't have the clicker. She goes, well, how are we going to get into the house? And I'm like, what? And he goes, okay, Jimmy, pull the car up and touch the bumper on the gate. So I pull the car up and I touch the gate. Dude gets out of the car, climbs on the hood of the car, climbs up the 12-foot tall gate to his house. He's 70, right? And jumps over the fence. Callista goes, he thinks he's friggin' Indiana Jones. And
that is awesome.
And I was like, I wouldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that. Harrison did. And that's
why he's Han Solo and Indiana Jones, man.
And that really happened. That's a true story. That is an absolutely 100% true story. I want to take a break here. When we come back, is it okay? I want to swing off of Marvel, and I want to do two things when we come back. Sure. I want to talk about the Paranormal 60, and I want to talk a little Star Trek, if that's okay. Can we do that? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's Dave Schrader. That's right. He jumped on the hood of the car, man. I'm serious. Climbed over his own gate. He thinks he's Indiana Jones. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight is Dave Schrader, and we're heading into overtime. Stay with us. We will be right back after this short break.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can, right now, get your free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30 days free. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, it is overtime with Dave Schrader. And over the years, Dave and I have done so many shows together. I've never appeared with Dave Schrader at the same time. And here we are together. It's so cool. And this is the deal. Mm-hmm. Not only am I having a great time, but the conversations that we've had over the years, everybody has only seen me react to the great Dave Schrader. Now they understand. They understand the vibe now. They get the vibe.
It's like two brothers coming together.
100%.
Romulus and Remus.
100%. And the idea for the Paranormal 60. Okay, can I tell everybody a little secret? Can I do that? Sure. I wanted to co-host that show with Dave. and I pitched. So and Dave, this was Dave's reaction. Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, let's talk about it. 2 weeks later, he launches it by himself.
Listen, I just came off of a long relationship, Jimmy. I wasn't ready to commit again. 16 years of working with Tim over at Darkness Radio. But I'm on your show all the time, so it's like we're still doing a show together.
I just vicariously, I want to be Dave Schrader. So the only way to do that is to co-host and pretend. And I was that close, man. I almost closed you. In fact, I thought I did close you. But the idea behind the Paranormal 60 when you've been at this for such a long time, and we were partners over at Coast to Coast, 6 years together over there too as well. You've been at this for a long time.
Yeah.
And so the idea behind the Paranormal 60, was it because you were just tired of doing longer shows, or that the attention span of your audience is too short and you needed to respond to that? Or is that you're tired and you just want to get in and out and get quick? Or is there something deeper going on?
It was just Tim and I launched the show together back in January of 2006. We were friends in college starting back in 1988. So we've known each other, 32 years.
Right.
And in 32 years, 16 of it, we've worked together. So that's half of our time together. We've been co-workers. And there was a lot of things that he felt his voice wasn't as heard on the show. And he had pushed me to the front from the get-go. He said, we really should only have one captain of the ship, and I'll be here if you need me. And so after 16 years, we just kind of, got on each other's nerves enough that I thought, I'm just going to step down and let him have his time to shine and do that. And I'm, I still love doing what I do, and I love having the conversations. So I'll do Paranormal 60 just on my own, and just have some fun. And I've got my buddies, 3 of my closest friends I do Friday nights with. We do news, and we just, we riff. We've got guys from banking and tech to former military and law enforcement. So we all have different opinions and ideas on some of these news stories, and we just like to riff and have some fun. So that I do on Friday. Monday nights we go in with our guests, and watching the way people do this, there are enough long form interviews like this show that why continue to compete? I'll give people another alternative so they can listen to 3 hours of Jimmy Church and then go pick up an hour of Dave Schrader. And let's face it, it's usually 67 minutes. I'm not going to lie. Paranormal 67 would have been a more realistic title, but I just wanted to give somebody something that's shorter, snappier bites that, you can listen to in the 15-minute ride into work, turn it off, come back to it for the 15-minute ride home, turn it off, pick it up. And each segment is its own living entity. And that's just kind of how I wanted to create it. And it keeps me a lot more fresh and having fun with it.
The approach to it, is it easier to have a quicker conversation and more direct to the point?
For me, it is, because, I've been doing this so long that, you have to, there's a lot of finessing in the long term. And honestly, a lot of guests are not great at a long-term interview. And it really takes, it takes a lot out of the host to have to try to pull and cull, and it's a challenge and it's fun, but there gets to be a point where it's just like, I just want to have a conversation. And you know what, Jimmy, you told me a fascinating story. It took us about 15 to 20 minutes to talk about. Let's just cover that. Let's have Jimmy on tonight to talk about this. He's got so much more. We'll have him back on next time to talk about that. And, that's kind of the way I like to look at this, is I'd like to do that. But I would, with that said, usually on my show on Monday, we'll come in. I have a guest for about 20 minutes. We do another segment for 15, 20 minutes, and then we do our final guest. And they're all kind of like. But I what I think would be a fun show one Monday night is to have you, me, and Dave Scott all do a show together.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that'd be great.
Just kind of have it a melee and just talking about our favorite topics, favorite guests, favorite aspects, and just kind of why those things resonate with us and what our journeys have brought us to. And just, I think it'd be fascinating to share that with each one of our listeners.
Is it easier to do just overall to do a 60-minute show, or is there more of a challenge to that because you've only got 60 minutes? Like you said, it's the Paranormal 67.
Yeah, sometimes it's a challenge, but it's because I'm having a good time. I really like this aspect of doing the video. That's what we started with and have gone with on Paranormal 60, and then the audio version is out there available as well on all the different platforms. And you can hear me on Mondays right after Jimmy Church on the Onyx Network. But what I've found is that in doing it this way, it's more engaging for me to sit here and look at you and talk than it is for me to just sit in my studio by myself looking at the ceiling as I'm talking to Jimmy Church, and it's easy to get distracted and it's easy to lose focus. But when we're talking, it's a conversation. It's two buddies. And even though I know there's a great string of people over here on the side that are asking questions and I'm watching their comments, I love seeing that, but it's still two buddies having a conversation. Two friends, two new friends, two old friends, whatever the guest is that you have on the show. And I think you can see stuff in their eyes that give you a better indication to where you can push a little deeper, or maybe you need to back off with the guest. So that's made it a lot of fun for me as well.
Is that something that you should teach? And if what I'm trying to suggest here is, I went to school for broadcast. I didn't just fall into this.
I did too, yeah.
Right. And there are so many out there today that have never done this. They see you and I do the show and they go, I can do this, right? And you jump into this with both feet, and the things that you are talking about right now come over time. They come over hundreds of shows, thousands of shows, and the art of the conversation and how to steer things comes over time. Is this something that you would like to share this knowledge with everybody someday?
I've been pretty open about it my whole career. I don't put in the time that Ian Punnett and Art Bell and George Norrie do in recon for the guests. I get a book from Jimmy Church that says, I was a teenage alien, and I look at the back of it and I say, hey, Jim, this looks like an interesting book. You want to come on? And I don't read the book. I might look at a couple pages or the titles of the chapters. I want to learn along with you and with my audience. So I've always been more about not knowing much, because, sometimes when you know too much inner dynamics, you forget to ask those questions because you already know the answer to that. And the audience feels left out. So I like to have the, short, concise, let's get in, let's tell the story, let's get out. And, the one thing I noticed off of doing, and with Darkness Radio, we started with 1 hour a week every Sunday. Then it got moved to 2 hours a week every Sunday. Then it got moved to Saturdays and Sundays on K-Talk from 9 to midnight. And then it got moved to Monday through Friday, 11 to midnight, then 10 to midnight, then 9 to midnight. And then we moved over to Podcast One. So the show has always evolved and changed and such. But I just figured if I'm going to do this, I want to come in quick. I want to do a quick little hit, give you something fun to think about, and be gone. You got a million other shows to listen to. If you just want a quick paced show and have a little fun, Paranormal 60 is what I have to offer. How do you different enough than what I used to do?
How do you gather your news? And it's not like you can go to the mainstream outlets and pick up on a paranormal story, even though, or true crime or whatever. It does exist out there from time to time if you dig.
Mm-hmm.
But to stay up on top of this, are you getting stuff from your producers? Is it coming in from your listeners, or are you out there?
I'm my producer. I don't have anybody else I work with. This is my show. I do it. I have Bart L., who's a friend who does a lot of the graphics for me. I've got he created the theme for this show. I've always leaned on the friends around me to help me build these things. My wife has helped with the social media and website stuff, and but I produce. I find the news stories. I edit the news stories to give to the guys to read on Friday nights. They'll find stories and send them to me. Guests are always approaching me, and I have a great story, or I hear an interesting story I'd never heard before. And I'm like, hey, would you like to spend 15, 20 minutes talking to me about that on my show? And yeah, sure. And you know what? 15 to 20 minutes is not a big commitment for anybody. You could fit me in on Friday. Well, I have a family get together on Friday, but yeah, I can swing in for 20 minutes.
Right.
And it's nothing. So it's a quick little bit. They give you the meat and you can move on to the next segment. And like I said, I've kind of gotten to the point, and I think listeners appreciate that. I would rather have 20 individual conversations with a guest over 20 episodes than have one episode where it's all the blather and their story's done. If I find you fascinating and I want to talk to you, I want to talk to you a lot. And that's what's good between you and I. We have good rapport and we can talk about many different topics. And even when we pick a topic for the night, we can jut into 18 different categories.
Yeah.
and pull it back together and know that next time we could have a completely different talk. And that's great. And that's rare between a lot of the hosts. And, there are some hosts out there making millions of dollars doing what you and I do and have very little skill or talent in it, but they're a comfort food. They're somebody that has been around for a long time. So, I just pride myself at trying to stay on the cutting edge and what can I do to bring something different. So I'm not just knocking off Jimmy Church's show or Coast to Coast or, Jim Harold's Paranormal podcast or, whatever else is out there. I want to just kind of have a different vibe to it.
Oh, I steal from all of them.
Sure.
I steal from all of them. And speaking of the ability to segue, I brought up Star Trek earlier, and here's the thing. I am a two-dimensional Star Trek guy. I am the original series, okay, which I've watched just back to back all the time, and Star Trek Discovery. I know nothing else about any Star Trek.
Sure.
Nothing. Who was the dude with the thing in the 80s?
Geordie LaForge, LeVar Burton from Next Generation. Yeah.
Okay.
The banana clip.
Yeah. I kind of remember that guy. I didn't remember his name. That's right. It was LeVar Burton, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It is.
Yeah.
I like all of what Star Trek's brought. Enterprise is the only series, and I shouldn't say that. Deep Space Nine bored me. That was more political.
I couldn't tell you.
A couple of great episodes, but that's about it.
Now, what do you think of Discovery? Discovery, when I watched,
I haven't watched it.
Oh,
no, we just got the Paramount Network. I've been watching Picard, and now I'll start to delve into Discovery because I felt like Discovery and Strange New Worlds, I think, is the new series. I wanted to start picking those up after Picard ends this season. So I've enjoyed all the different iterations pretty much, and I like the angle of the stories and where they go, and it's interesting to see them tread kind of familiar ground but bring it out in a different way.
Well, Discovery, I just found, right? And so I picked it up the first season and first episode, and I got hooked, and I understand it's standalone, and I've completed the new season and things. It's amazing, and I loved it, and I can't wait for it to continue. But now going backwards and getting into the other Star Treks, I don't have that desire. And then somebody recently told me that Picard is just as good as Discovery, and that I really need to go and watch that. And I thought Picard was old. That's actually new, right?
Right. Well, right. It's been 30 years since the series went off, and they're picking it back up with an old Jean-Luc Picard, and they've got some interesting elements to the stories that are still being told. So I avoided the Next Generation like the plague when it came out in the 80s. But I've seen all the Star Trek movies, and when they did Generations, it had my guy Captain Kirk in it, so I had to go. And I watched it, and I actually kind of fell in love with the crew of the Enterprise D and the new cast. So I was like, all right. And literally when it came out here in Minnesota, they just started that Saturday rerunning all of the Next Gen from the first episode. So I sat down and watched it. First couple episodes are a little slow, and then it takes off. And I think it's a great series. And it also it harkens back to the original series. You get to visit some of the original characters in different periods of their lives, and you get a great new cast that's all encompassing of its own. And I loved Voyager. I thought that was it was kind of like Star Trek meets Lost in Space. And so I've let each one has kind of grown, and they all have their own feel to it.
There's so many. And so for somebody like me that says, okay, I've watched 1967 and 1968, right? and I've watched Discovery. What do I do next?
Have you watched the movies, the Star Trek, the original crew movies?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you've seen them all, go watch Generations. That's the last one that has Kirk. I think it's Kirk, Scotty, and Chekhov that are in it at the beginning. And then Kirk plays an integral part as the movie progresses, but it introduces Picard to Kirk in a timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly kind of way. But that'll give you kind of an introduction to the next gen crew that has now finally been flushed out because now they're no longer on TV. This is their foray into movies, and then go back and start watching next gen. I think it's really worth your time to invest, time into. It's, 8 seasons, 9 seasons, something like that. But it's a great series and good characters.
So that's called Star Trek Next Generation.
Right. Yep.
And what was the movie where Scotty says, I think it's Scotty, the nuclear vessels?
No, that's Mr. Chekhov.
That's Chekhov. That's and they're in like San Francisco.
Yeah.
What movie was that?
That's Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, where they time travel to Earth in the 80s in order to try to find, I think it's a blue whale that they can take back to the future. Yeah.
Right. I like that movie. Okay, so now staying in the now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying Star Trek Next Generation is 8 seasons old or thereabouts.
Right.
And that is worthy of going back to season 1 and binging on that.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think it's a fun episode or fun series to pick up on. And Deep Space Nine, not so much, but there is one great episode. If you love the original series, go look up the Trouble with Tribbles episode of Deep Space Nine, because they actually do Forrest Gumpy stuff where the new cast is video edited into the original classic episode of the Trouble with Tribbles. And it's beautifully done.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, okay, so back to Picard, because I thought, and I need to be very clear on this, I thought Picard was like 10 years old. The Picard that I see right now on whatever
Paramount Plus,
is it Paramount Plus?
Yep.
That is a new production. That's like 2018, 2019, 2020.
Something like that. Yeah, I think it was 2019, 2020, and now, yeah.
And what's his name is in the movie or is in the series?
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart.
Right.
So he's
just playing himself 30 years after he gave up the Enterprise.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh man, look at we got the bots coming in.
Ooh.
Yeah, the bots are coming in.
You are a popular bot man. No, bot man. Yeah, I love all those. Have you watched Resident Alien yet, Jimmy?
Oh, I all of it.
God, I love that series. What a brilliant, fun, silly series.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
it's really well done. Well, okay. We've only got a couple of minutes left, and since we are okay, I'm going to leave this up to my moderators to clear this mess out. It's absolutely hilarious, and you cannot. They do this because this is a popular chat, right? Yeah, there's a lot of people here, and they go and they find us, and the next thing you know, and do you
mind if I mention something real quickly? If your listeners are interested, I like I said, I like to go out and invest into the field. So I'm doing an event at the Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota in June. We're doing 2 one-day events. It's called Spirits and the Sixth Sense Retreat, where we've got Sarah Lemos, the medium from the TV show Ghost Town Terror and Ghosts of Morgan City. She's going to be doing a 2-hour presentation on how to develop your own skills. Even if you think you're not mediumistic or psychic, she's going to try to help you tap into that. Bill Chappell, who's created all the equipment you see on shows like Ghost Adventures, he's going to be with us. He's created a brand new piece of equipment that when you attend our event, you get to keep for yourself. Everybody that's in attendance is going to get one, and it's going to be something that will help you develop some of those heightened abilities as well. Then Shane Pittman and myself from the Holzer Files are going to do a 2-hour presentation on ghost hunting, and then we're going to take everything we learned that day and we're going to ghost hunt the Palmer House Hotel for 3 hours at night. Very few tickets remain. You can find it at darknessevents.com. Darknessevents.com. Yeah,
I'm looking for it right now, so I can post this up, and it's darknessevents.com.
Yep.
I'm looking. Is it on your Twitter feed?
I don't know if it's. I've been posting about it on and off, but yeah, I've got. We put up an event that's at Joliet State Prison with Chris Fleming and myself. That's going to be taking place in July. I think there's 4 tickets left for that. So if you want to go to Old Joliet Prison with Chris Fleming, Sam Beltrusis, and myself to investigate, there's 4 tickets for that. Or then in June, we've got the Spirits and Sixth Sense event. But if you go to darknessevents.com, you'll see all the cool things I'm going to be doing this next year and into next year, where you can see me and meet with me and get a chance to chat and hang out.
I've got it up in the chat right there.
Perfect. Thank you.
And but what I wanted to bring up, and we're out of time, was People of Earth. Did you watch that?
Oh, yes, I did. And I think that was a great show that really didn't get enough play.
Didn't get enough play, and
Nope.
there should have been a season 3.
Yep.
I purchased both seasons, and I've got them there. And I actually go back and watch the episodes are like 20 minutes, so you can pop out a season, right?
Yeah, in 3 or 4 hours. Yeah,
like 3 or 4 hours. And I thought finally I found a TV show, kind of like Resident Alien, but People of Earth was written for me. I really felt, like, for me personally, not the community. That was my show, man.
Sure.
That was my show. I loved
awesome.
every minute of it. Every minute. Dave, when do you put out your content now?
Mondays and Fridays, brand new episodes come out. Monday we do the guests. Fridays we do news, and people can find them usually by late Monday night, Tuesday morning, or late Friday night, early Saturday morning. And then we do a live stream on YouTube as well, but it's up against this show called Fade to Black, and I don't stand a chance.
I know it's tough.
Yeah.
I like the idea though of the 2 Daves and Jimmy. And
we'll have to figure that out.
No, I think in a weird way, him and I talked about it, and if you weren't spoken to about it and you just bringing it up, that's the universe right there. That's the connected universe.
Well, let's do it.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. Dave, you are the absolute best, my friend.
Thanks, buddy.
We've got darknessradioevents.com. It's up in the chat right there. I've got it up over in Twitter now. Dave, thank you so much. Behave, be well, and be safe, my friend.
Live long and prosper, Jimmy.
That's what I'm talking about.
Take care, buddy.
Dave Schrader, thank you so much, Dave. And with that, that's going to wrap up nearly another week here on Fade to Black. Tomorrow night, right here, it is Thursday night. It is Fader night. It's open lines all night long. Dave Schrader is the best. And one of the things, we said it too many times tonight, but Dave and I have hosted and worked together for so long. But we're friends, and it is such a fun show for me personally to bring him on where we can just sit and talk. And I hope that all of you enjoyed this conversation tonight as much as I did. And I know that Dave did too as well. Just a great show. Perfect night here on Fade to Black. Tomorrow night is Thursday night. It is Fader night with open lines all night long. What a great show. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us tonight. And the chat room and the web bots were pretty cool. Absolutely amazing. Fade to Black is produced by Helm J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito. Gene was in the chat tonight. And Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. And this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night, Fader night, open lines all night long. I want you to be safe. It's time to fade to black.